Well, for more insight into the UK economy, as well as the potential impact of ongoing U.S. tariffs on the nation, we're joined by Klaus Larres. He is a distinguished professor of history and international affairs at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Klaus, great to have you back on the program.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
What's your key takeaway from this GDP report? As we just heard, not especially overwhelming, but still the foot on the accelerator, moving in the right direction. What does it tell us? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. The Starmer administration in London will be very pleased. At least, you know, the slug in the economy, the almost recessionary situation in the UK seems to have been overcome. There are good reasons for that growth, not least because many companies have been front-loading their purchases abroad because of Trump's tariffs, which are coming. So there is, you know, maybe it's a little artificial, that little growth, but still the UK seems to have turned a certain corner.
Yeah, I think that you really hit the nail on the head, what everybody's talking about now, because certainly they want to do what they can to not be hit with these higher tariffs. So beyond tariffs, what are some of the other challenges facing the country? What else out there is lurking? And let's remember, the Bank of England has been aggressive in cutting rates. And to what degree do you think that now is paying off?
Oh, that certainly was very helpful. And the Starmer administration, as I said, is really trying to turn the economy around. He has a very big burden. The Conservatives really did run the British economy into the ground. And I think everyone, including the voters, accepted that. And that was one of the reasons why why Labour won the last election. But the National Health Service is still very much indebted. A lot more money needs to be put into the National Health Service. The National Health Service is really, that's a big wound in the British society. And so there's lots of work to be done. But what Starmer has started to do, and I think that is a very sensible thing, he really has started to embark on a rapprochement with the European Union. You know, Brexit has cost the British economy very, very dearly. Experts say between 4 and 5% of GDP has been cost because of Brexit. Numbers vary, of course, but a large number of GDP has been lost. So that needs to be overcome. And everyone is aware of that. And a rapprochement with the European Union in all sorts of ways, economic, but also politically and also militarily, is probably very beneficial for the British.
And what do we know about the trade deal with the United States? Any specifics emerging? Because it was Trump's big salvo last week saying, look, we're making deals. But critics say it's just more of a framework than a deal.
Yes, it is not a deal because a trade deal in the United States can only be concluded by Congress, not by the president. So the president can, of course, embark on trade agreements, and that is what it is, what has been achieved with the UK. It depends how you look at it. When you look at the many promises during the Brexit campaign of 2016 and in the following years about that a trade deal with the United States would be so beneficial for the country and would balance the economy of Britain against the European Union economies, then I think everyone is disappointed. When you look at the long negotiations which have taken place over many years now, 9 years almost, then of course eventually some sort of agreement has been reached. And then you can say, well, that's a success after all. Maybe not the big success which was hoped for in the past, but still better than nothing. And, you know, something has been achieved, above all the lowering of the tariffs to 10% regarding, particularly regarding steel and cars. And that is something.
Yeah, we're seeing steel right now. Klaus, talk about your global reaction to the U.S.-UK deal. China's response especially. What effect do you believe that discussion, deal, arrangement, whatever you want to call it, is having on China?
Well, the Chinese have been upset because apparently there is a veto for the United States in that trade agreement about supply line security, as it is called, that apparently the United States would have a veto if the British wanted to export things to China, which the United States didn't approve of. The British have very much rejected that and said there is no veto at all in that trade agreement, and that they very much appreciate the reset of economic relations with China, which has recently taken place. Only in December, Starmer and Xi Jinping met and had a very constructive meeting. And of course, the British don't want to endanger their new good relations with China, particularly in an economic way. Therefore, it is difficult to know whether there really is something like a veto in that trade agreement with the United States. But of course, the United States can always flag things to the British if they are worried about any British deal with China in economic terms. Any country could approach the British, say, we are worried about that. And American influence is, of course, high. So, any flagging of the United States about concern about exports to China would be taken very seriously by the British. Whether that comes close to a veto remains to be seen. And the British, as I said, have vigorously rejected that there is something like a veto.
Klaus Larres, thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate your insight.
You're very welcome.